Congress finished up today before their big 4th of July break, and I think Republican Senator Rand Paul may have gone home mad. As of this morning, the Senate still had a ton of business to do, extending the flood insurance program, right? That covers more than 5 million properties in flood-prone areas. That was one of the things they needed to do. It's usually a workaday bipartisan bill, but this year, Rand Paul tried to tack anti-abortion legislation onto it. Do you remember the personhood thing that even Mississippi voters thought was too radical this past year? Rand Paul wanted to attach a federal version of that thing that even Mississippi said no to flood insurance. So if you want flood insurance in America, he said, we're also going to have to declare that every fertilized egg in America is a person. So a woman becomes two people essentially as soon as she rounds third base. Personhood bills ban all abortion in all circumstances, and they probably ban the most commonly used forms of birth control in the country as well. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid looked at Rand Paul's personhood amendment to the flood bill, and he kind of flipped his lid. He said that is not going to happen. No freaking way. Actually, what Senator Reid said in his soft-spoken way specifically was this.
I think this is outlandish.
When he said outlandish, what he really meant was no freaking way. Well, today, in an uncharacteristically productive flurry of activity, Congress did pass the flood insurance bill, and they did not include the Rand Paul personhood thing with it. Harry Reid won on that. But even as Republicans' laser-like focus on jobs, by which I mean abortion, has mostly gone nowhere at the federal level. In the states, Republicans are on the verge of accomplishing a goal that they have dreamed of since Roe versus Wade. Get this. Barring last-minute intervention from a federal court, Republicans in Mississippi are within hours of banning abortion in that state by making their state the only state in the country that has no abortion clinic, not one. In April, new Republican Governor Phil Bryant signed what's known as a trap law, specifically targeted, specifically onerous regulations for the state's lone abortion clinic that other kinds of medical clinics in Mississippi do not have to follow. Republicans have proposed these anti-abortion trap laws this session in Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Indiana, Minnesota, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Tennessee, West Virginia. In most places, they argue that the regulations are good for women. And if the new red tape accidentally shuts down all the abortion providers, well, oops. Mississippi is different, though. In Mississippi, officials have been flat out admitting what they've been trying to do. They said they were doing this, passing this law, specifically to try to shut down the last abortion clinic in the state. They want to end abortion in Mississippi, full stop. You cannot get one there. Rights be damned. Governor Phil Bryant said so explicitly when he signed the bill into law.
I think it's historic. Today you see the first step in a movement, I believe, to do what we campaigned on, to say we're going to try to end abortion in Mississippi. We're going to continue to try to work to end abortion in Mississippi, and this is an historic day to begin that process.
That was the Republican governor of the state. Here's the Republican lieutenant governor, just in case it's not clear enough.
It's been 7 years since we've got good pro-life legislation passed out of the Mississippi legislature. That's a bill that gives us a great opportunity to accomplish what our goal needs to be. Our goal needs to be to end all abortions in Mississippi. I believe the admitting privileges bill gives us the best chance to do that.
After Republicans passed this law in the state legislature, they went home to their constituents and they bragged about what they had done. Like, for instance, this state legislator, his name is Bubba Carpenter.
We have literally stopped abortion in the state of Mississippi. The only clinic that's in fact, 4 miles from the Capitol sits the only abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi. A bill was drafted that said if you would perform an abortion in the state of Mississippi, you must be a certified OBGYN and you must have admitted privileges to a hospital. Anybody here in the medical field knows how hard it is to get admitted privileges to a hospital. And of course, there you have the other side. They're like, well, the poor, pitiful women that can't afford to go out of state are just going to start doing them at home with a coordinator. That's what we heard over and over and over. But hey, you have to have moral values. You have to start somewhere, and that's what we decided to do.
Got to have moral values. Yeah, what we've done might cause women in our state to kill themselves by trying to operate on themselves. But you got to have moral values. The state's new law to eliminate all abortion services in Mississippi takes effect on Sunday. Tonight, the owner of the state's only clinic said that her doctors began trying to get admitting privileges to hospitals just as soon as the governor signed the bill. She said the doctors have applied to 5 hospitals within 30 miles of the lone clinic in the state. They have not been given those privileges anywhere, and everybody knew they wouldn't. That's the whole point of the bill. This week, the last clinic in Mississippi turned to a federal court for help. They asked the court to block this new law. In this country, when constitutionally protected rights are threatened by the actions of a state government, we count on the federal government to step in and stop the state from doing that. We've seen that with things like school integration and voting rights. Here now, with this constitutionally protected right, the answer depends on a federal court in Jackson, Mississippi, and what happens in the next few days. The clinic's owner tells us that regardless of what the court decides between now and Monday, if the court decides anything, she will open her business on Monday, if only to answer the phone. But she says she doubts her doctors will be willing to take the risk of breaking the law and going to prison in order to keep providing what is supposed to be the constitutionally protected right to an abortion in this country. And if that happens, the state will have ended something that the nation says no state has a right to end. Watch this weekend. The law is set to go into effect July 1st if the court does not act.